Welcome to the Disney vs. Battles, a series focusing on characters from the Disney universe, analyzing their combat skills and abilities in a side-by-side comparison to determine who would win in a hypothetical battle. Today's matchup will be Peter Pan, the Flying Swordsman, versus Robin Hood, the Sharpshooter of Nottingham. For this battle, I will be observing both combatants during the events of their feature films. For Peter, this will be during the events of Disney's Peter Pan and Return to Neverland. For Robin, this will be during the events of Disney's Robin Hood. I will not be using anything from a video game or any other non-canon sources. Now with all that out the way, let's begin. Born in an unknown world, Peter Pan is the guardian of Neverland and leader of the Lost Boys. One night, Peter embarks on an adventure to reclaim his shadow and encounters a young girl named Wendy. When Peter fails to capture his shadow, Wendy utilizes her skills to sew his feet to his silhouette. After obtaining assistance from his friend, the hero meets Wendy's brothers and teaches them how to fly. Eventually, they traverse through a mysterious portal leading to Neverland. Upon their arrival, Captain Hook orders his men to shoot Peter, thus forcing the children to follow his sidekick, Tinker Bell. As the trio locates their destination, the Lost Boys attack Wendy and cause her to lose control of her flight. Before the maiden plummets to the earth, Peter rescues her from an untimely death. After meeting Peter's allies, Wendy attempts to befriend a group of mermaids. However, the ladies become jealous of her presence and splash water in her face. As Wendy grabs a large object to defend herself, Peter sees his arch-nemesis abducting his ally, Tiger Lily, and follows them into a cave. Once Pan was inside, the hero used his skills to impersonate Captain Hook, forcing his subordinates to free their captives. Despite Pan's cleverness, Hook discovers his ruse, thus resulting in a brief duel. After the battle, Peter rescues Tiger Lily and celebrates with her tribe. However, the party ends when the Lost Boys reach their hideout. Later that evening, Hook infiltrates Pan's secret lair and kidnaps his allies. Once the pirates secure the hostages on the ship, Hook orders his men to prepare them for walking the plank. Before the villain can send his enemies to a watery grave, Peter emerges from the shadows and rescues his comrades. Due to this turn of events, Hook challenges Peter to another duel. Eventually, Peter defeats his adversary, commandeers his ship, and escorts Wendy back to England. 20 years later, Captain Hook captures Wendy's daughter after seizing control of the Jolly Roger. Although Hook intends to use Jane as bait, his plans fail when Peter manages to save her from a giant octopus. Once Jane reveals her mother's identity, Peter embarks on a new adventure to help his companion reach her goals. Despite Pan's best efforts, Jane fails to ignite the fire of her imagination, and Jane ends up causing Tinker Bell to collapse. After this incident, Jane gave up her dream of becoming the first Lost Girl. As a result, Hook manipulates Jane's emotions, and she unwittingly leads Peter into an ambush. Eventually, Jane restores her belief in fairies after witnessing the death of Tinker Bell, and revives the icon with a renewed sense of compassion. Meanwhile, Captain Hook prepares to send Peter to his death by walking the plank with an anchor strapped to his back. As the hero begins to take his last step, Jane arrives to free him from captivity. Once Peter is free, he drops the anchor from several feet in the air and effectively destroys the Jolly Roger, thus ending the career of Captain Hook. After watching civilians suffer from the tyranny of Prince John, one hero defies his corruption and becomes an outlaw known as Robin Hood. As a criminal, Robin managed to escape the clutches of the ruthless sheriff's henchmen with the aid of his sidekick, Little John. Once the pair were safe, they disguised themselves as fortune tellers and successfully robbed the monarchy. Due to this turn of events, Prince John devised a plan to capture his nemesis, creating a contest that featured an elite class of archers. As the prince continued his scheme, the citizens of Nottingham began receiving money from a generous blind beggar. Eventually, the panhandler reveals himself as the devious outlaw Robin Hood and celebrates the birthday of his #1 fan. After the party, Friar Tuck arrives at Robin's hideout and delivers news regarding Prince John's tournament. Although the hero knew the contest was a trap, Robin decided to make an appearance to visit his one true love, Marian. During the tournament, Robin disguises himself as a stork and approaches his childhood friend. As Robin expresses his intentions to Marian, he gives the vixen a token of his affection, causing her heart to swell with joy. After this confession, she discovers his true identity and hopes he emerges victorious. Eventually, Robin enters the competition, breaking several records with a series of trick shots to defeat his opponents. As the tournament neared its end, Robin faced off against the infamous Sheriff of Nottingham. Despite his efforts to cheat, the crooked lawman fails to beat his adversary, and Robin ultimately wins. Before the outlaw can claim his reward, Prince John rips his costume apart, exposing his true identity. As a result, the monarch orders his royal guards to execute the devious archer. Shocked by the sight of his friend in peril, Little John pulls out a dagger and forces the prince to free his companion. Once Robin is free from captivity, the hero proposes to Marian, and she happily accepts his offer. As the pair discuss their plans for the future, Captain Crocodile approached the archer with his sword. During this time, Little John charged into a tent full of ferocious rhino guards and got caught in their stampede. Amidst the chaos, Captain Crocodile gets trampled by the herd of rhinos, allowing the archer to escape the tournament with his companions. Later that evening, Prince John orders the sheriff to increase the taxes in Nottingham, but the villagers lack the resources to pay and eventually find themselves in prison. As a result, Friar Tuck attempts to lift the spirits of his community. However, the sheriff pilfers money from the church and arrests him for treason. When the outlaws discover their predicament, Robin and Little John sneak into the castle. Eventually, the pair manage to free their friends and escape from the premises. After the heroes rescue the villagers, King Richard returns from the crusade and arrests his brother for treason, thus ending the tyranny of Prince John. As a swordsman, Peter wields a double-edged dagger with a golden guard, a short-length hilt, and a golden pommel attached to the handle. Despite his preference for smaller blades, Peter mastered using long swords such as Captain Hook's rapier. In combat, the hero combines aerial acrobatics with traditional sword fighting, making his swordplay unpredictable. Although he has an immature and carefree nature, Peter possesses a high level of intelligence, outsmarting opponents with much more experience than himself by employing the art of deception and using his environment to his advantage. As an outlaw, Robin is a skilled marksman, brandishing a recurve bow with a standard set of 20 arrows stashed in his quiver. According to the design of his weapon, the recurve bow provides a massive amount of energy and speed to increase the impact of your shot. In his first appearance, Robin managed to hit multiple targets, split an arrow down the middle, and was capable of producing trick shots by ricocheting projectiles with deadly precision. As a swordsman, Robin wields a double-edged broadsword with a silver guard, a short-length hilt, and a silver pommel attached to the handle. Based on Robin's origin, it's currently unknown if he received formal training. However, Robin's skill is above the rank of an average swordsman. In combat, Robin is an offensive duelist with a high degree of intelligence and uses his environment to his advantage. In terms of long-range weaponry, Robin has a significant advantage. Although Peter's flight-based combat enables him to dodge a series of projectiles, Robin can ricochet his arrows off a concrete surface to surprise the flying swordsman and fatally injure him with a headshot. However, this skill is highly situational and heavily relies on a solid surface with a limited range, so there's no guarantee Robin's arrows will reach Peter without his knowledge. As for their melee weapons, Robin's sword is much longer than Peter's dagger, thus providing him with a reaching advantage. When it comes to their skills in combat, both fighters possess a great deal of experience. During his adventures in Neverland, Peter managed to defeat Captain Hook and his crew. According to historical records, some pirates were originally privateers and highly respected for their combat skills. Pirates also possessed a large variety of explosives and mid-range firearms. In contrast, Robin defeated multiple soldiers in the Royal Guard and held his own against the captain of the guard. In the Middle Ages, members of the Royal Guard were elite military bodyguards who specialized in a series of melee weapons and possessed an arsenal of long-ranged artillery. Despite having a century's worth of advancements, there is no way to determine if pirates were superior to the Royal Guard in swordsmanship. However, if we examine the two combatants separately, Peter is more skilled than Robin and possesses 30 years of combat experience, defeating enemies with a single dagger. Although both combatants show a similar approach to utilizing the environment to their advantage, their techniques are quite different. As a swordsman, Robin is a strength-focused duelist with a solid defense, employing a series of parries and blade locks to disarm his opponents. On the other hand, Peter is an offensive swordsman who focuses on evasive actions and incorporates unconventional methods to take on his opponents. In most of their fights, Robin performs situational tactics as a defensive measure, while Peter employs them as an offensive maneuver. In a duel, Robin has a stronger defense than Peter and would be able to counter his strikes. However, Peter's flight provides him with an advantage to dodge a majority of his attacks and slip past his guard by using Robin's strength and momentum against him. Despite Robin's advantage in weapons, Peter has experience against opponents with similar blades and defeated Captain Hook, a ruthless swordsman who uses his hook for dual blade fencing. Although Robin's accomplishments as a marksman are superior to any of Peter's enemies, the chances of him landing a shot on the flying swordsman are pretty slim. As a result, Peter gets the edge in combat skills and weaponry. In combat, Peter was a formidable fighter, endowed with incredible strength. The hero could lift a massive anchor and overpower Captain Hook, causing the pirate to stumble backward. In addition to his physical prowess, he possessed the power of flight, allowing him to fly at speeds far beyond that of an average human. However, once Peter is on his feet, he moves with the grace and agility of an Olympic-level athlete in peak physical condition. The hero also demonstrated incredible agility during his second battle with Hook, skillfully dodging several cannonballs from the Jolly Roger and avoiding a shot fired from a flintlock pistol. Despite his lack of endurance, he survived an encounter with his shadow after crashing into a dresser. As a skilled warrior, Robin possesses impressive strength and agility. The archer is strong enough to push a royal throne into several guards and even fight against axe-wielding rhinoceroses in a sword fight. The hero also carried a grizzly bear up a tree. Furthermore, Robin's speed rivals that of Little John, who is fast enough to outrun a speeding arrow. Additionally, he has demonstrated impressive agility, using his speed to outwit a large group of opponents and dodge arrows at close range. As for durability, Robin possesses a high level of endurance. The hero survived a drop from several meters without taking any damage during his final battle against the Sheriff of Nottingham, and he previously tanked a hit from Captain Crocodile's shield. In both of their films, Peter and Robin display tremendous amounts of physical strength. After battling the notorious Captain Hook for 3 decades, Peter lifted an anchor 20 feet in the air and briefly overwhelmed his adversary. According to the anchor's design, Peter must have used a kedge anchor to destroy Hook's ship. Moreover, the average height of a 12-year-old boy was about 4.5 feet in the 1900s, and the anchor was several inches shorter than Peter's size, which means the object would be 4 feet tall. Furthermore, the best weight I could find for this height is 45.36 kilograms, so an anchor forged from cast iron at 4 feet tall would weigh up to 100 pounds. Despite Hook's slender appearance, the pirate was strong enough to resist the tentacles of a giant octopus and managed to suppress the jaw muscles of a massive crocodile. On average, a male octopus can lift 40 times its body weight, so if we assume that the octopus Hook escaped from was the same size as his ship and weighed approximately 500 tons, Hook would have had to resist a pull of 20,000 tons to match the strength of its arms. In other words, it would have been equivalent to lifting 4,000 elephants. However, given the circumstances of this feat, the outcome looks more like a sight gag and inconsistent. Moving on to Hook's performance against the crocodile TikTok, the pirate would need to exert a force of 42 pounds with each hand and 92 pounds with each foot to hold its mouth open. On the other hand, in his ongoing battle against the nefarious Prince John, Robin had to carry the weight of a grizzly bear while hoisting himself up a tree and pushing a throne into his adversaries. According to wildlife experts, the average weight of an adult male grizzly bear is around 580 to 660 pounds. Since Robin achieved his goal with considerable ease, his lifting power is potentially much higher. So far, there are no specifications on the exact materials used for John's throne. However, given the design of his seat and England's preference for wood, it was most likely crafted from English oak. To calculate the object's weight, I found a similar chair with accurate measurements. As visible in the picture, The dimensions of his seat suggest that his throne is 176.5 centimeters in height, 68.6 centimeters in width, and 45.7 centimeters in depth, which gives us an estimated weight of 860 pounds. In combat, both Peter and Robin exhibit impressive speed and agility. The heroes evade arrows fired from a recurve bow that travels at 136 miles per hour. However, Peter has demonstrated the ability to dodge cannonballs and bullets, thus making him much faster than Robin. Captain Hook's cannon was most likely a 32-pounder gun. Since his henchmen positioned the weapon at a 45-degree angle and the target was 20 feet in the air, the cannonball must have traveled at 153.68 miles per hour. On the other hand, Mr. Smee was wielding a flintlock pistol, which has a muzzle velocity of 168 meters per second, implying that the bullet was traveling at a speed of 375,805 miles per hour. In conclusion, while Robin has shown subsonic reflexes in combat, Peter's ability to fly and move in multiple directions makes him significantly more agile. As for their endurance, Peter withstood a vicious assault from his mischievous shadow. Considering the average surface area of a person's fist is 2 square inches, a typical person can generate a force of 150 pounds per square inch upon impact. However, Robin is much more resilient. During his ultimate battle with the sheriff, Robin fearlessly leaps from the highest point of Nottingham Castle and plunges into the lake below. Assuming the castle is about 100 feet tall, jumping into the water from that height would be equivalent to driving a car into a brick wall at 54 miles per hour. In addition to his heroic jump, Robin withstands the brutal force of a shield bash. Judging by its design, this weapon is likely a kite shield. During the Middle Ages, blacksmiths crafted this mighty shield by fusing laminated wood, animal hide, and iron. Therefore, a strike from this shield would undoubtedly result in a severe concussion. Although Peter has impressive grip strength, Robin is much stronger and possesses a higher degree of lifting power. Despite Robin's advantage in endurance, neither fighter has protection against piercing weapons, nor do they have resistance to sharpened blades. Although Peter displayed incredible speed in flight, his combat speed on land is similar to Robin's reaction time, so Robin should be fast enough to counter his strikes. In this contest, both combatants have an equal number of advantages. If Robin discovers a way to challenge Peter on the ground, he can overpower him in a sword fight. However, if Peter sticks to using his flight, he's fast enough to outmaneuver Robin and strike his vital organs. Since both fighters are skilled practitioners of situational tactics, this fight could go either way. As a result, I declared that Peter Pan and Robin Hood are equals in powers and abilities. In a battle of heroes, this match will consist of Peter's flight, speed, and agility versus Robin's strength, endurance, and archery. This fight will take place inside King Arthur's castle. There will be no prep time. The match begins when Robin enters the top floor and Peter launches an aerial assault. Before Pan can reach his opponent, Robin fires a volley of arrows. However, Peter manages to dodge each shot and uses the chandelier to slingshot into his adversary. After Peter kicks Robin into a castle wall, the hero attempts to strike him with his blade. Despite this action, Robin draws his sword and deflects his attack. As their blades clash with blinding speed, the fearless fox unleashes an onslaught of sword thrusts. However, Peter evades his assault, using aerial acrobatics, and eventually pulls Robin's hat over his eyes. As the Lost Boy takes a moment to chuckle, Robin quickly seizes the opportunity to attach some rope to his arrows and fires them at a castle wall. The arrows ricochet off the surface and skillfully hogtie Peter's feet. With Peter's mobility restricted, Robin used a suit of armor to secure the rope and swiftly tossed it over the balcony, causing Peter to lose his balance and plummet. As the hero fell, Robin swung from another rope and collided with Peter, forcing them to crash through the window. Once they hit the ground, Peter quickly freed himself and charged into battle, attempting to slice Robin's midsection with his blade. However, Robin deflected the attack and swiftly countered with a searing lunge. Despite Robin's efforts to impale his opponent, Peter dodged the fatal blow. As the fight continues, Robin lures Peter deeper into the woods until they finally reach Merlin's cabin. In a surprising turn of events, Robin abruptly leaps out of a tree and attempts an overhead slash. However, Peter manages to block his move, causing them to engage in a fierce blade lock. After an intense fight, the fearless archer overwhelmed the flying swordsman with his strength. Before Robin can deliver the final blow, Peter grins and kicks him forcefully, propelling him through Merlin's cabin door. Once inside the cabin, Peter draws his dagger and deftly slashes Robin's chest before shoving him into a bag. As Robin struggles to break free, Peter casts the bag into a cauldron and boils his adversary alive. I declare that Peter Pan, Guardian of Neverland, is the victor. In a battle of champions, both combatants are tremendously skilled fighters with a unique approach to combat, which makes this match far more intriguing and arduous to imagine. Although Robin's blade work is enough to rival Peter in a sword fight, and both fighters are top-tier strategists among their peers, Robin has nothing that Peter hasn't seen before. Since his moves are similar to Captain Hook, Peter would eventually outmaneuver him with his speed and superior battle experience. Although Peter's reliance on his flight can be a severe hindrance, the hero has previously defeated an opponent without his powers and used situational tactics to overcome an adversary. Despite Robin's advantage in weapon mastery, none of his arrows would reach Peter because of his uncanny speed and agility. As a result, Peter wins this matchup. Born as the second Prince of Pride Rock, Scar was the younger sibling of Mufasa and ruler of the Outlands. In his youth, Scar became the leader of the Lion Guard, a team of animals who protect the Pride Lands and defend the Circle of Life. As a central figure in his group, Scar possessed an ability known as the Roar of the Elders, a power
once regarded as a hero in her city. Shigo was a villain and former member of Team Go. As a child, Shigo and her brothers gained their powers after a multicolored meteor crashed inside their treehouse. After this event, Shigo gained the ability to manipulate green energy. Her eldest brother acquired superhuman strength. Miko received the